Welcome to the Dateable AF podcast. I'm Dr. Sarah Kyle, a therapist in private practice.
And I'm Rachel Howell, a qualitative researcher.
Each week, we break down the emotional patterns behind dating, love, conflict, and connection, and what actually helps people build relationships that last. Hello. Welcome, everyone, to Season 3, Episode 14 of the Dateable AF podcast. Today, we are talking about someday you'll be amazing. The trap of falling in love with someone's potential. Oh, girl, I got so much to say about this topic.
Well, I will say this, that I am glad that a lot of people do this, because when I was in college, the person that fell in love with me really had to see my potential. I'm just going to say that.
I mean, I guess all along the way, right? Hopefully
Yeah.
we're constantly becoming better versions of ourselves. But I am afflicted with this. And I'm not talking about my relationship with Joe. I'm talking about, I do this with friends. I do this with my clients. But you could be so good. And if you just change these things, you could be amazing. No, they're not changing it. They're not doing it.
It's that reason, the reason with your affliction, because you do have a affliction within.
Mm-hmm.
I do a little bit myself, but that's why we're thinking about moving out onto some land.
Off the grid. Yeah.
Off the grid with our tiny donkeys.
Yep.
Out
Yep.
of vending machines. Yeah.
I hope people have been listening to our previous episodes so they know what you're talking about. But yes, this is, if I could impart any words of wisdom to people getting into a relationship, I would say ranks in the top 3, is you have to look at someone for who they are right now, not who you think they have the potential to be. Because man, I just see so many people who are getting in a relationship because they can see who the person's gonna become or who they might become. That you see them and you're like, oh, this person is so smart. They're so talented. They're so sensitive. And I mean, I know they don't have a job right now, but they're gonna get a job. Or, I know that they smoke 2 packs of cigarettes right now, but they told me they want to quit. Like, no, friend. You got to wait until that happens and then start to date them, if that's one of your criteria. And I mean, I just see this happening so often, because what you do is you imagine this future version of this person. And over time, it starts to feel a little bit off. I'm just saying.
First off, you think about the amount of time. I know people who have wasted so much time waiting for that person to emerge that they have visualized.
Yep.
And so then they put up with a pile of shit along the way,
Mm-hmm.
because they continue to think that at the end of the rainbow, the pot of gold is there. And you look up and you've spent, a year, sometimes 3 years, however long it takes you to realize that you've been waiting on something that just isn't going to come to fruition.
Yep. Absolutely. And so when you meet someone, you have to look at where they are right now and who they are right now, and ask yourself if that is something that you can accept. Because you can only relate to the person that exists right now. You can't relate to the person that you believe they're going to eventually become. You are setting yourself up for failure, and you're setting the other person up for failure if you do that.
You are. I mean, for sure, you're going to be putting yourself in a position of trying to push them towards what you want them to be.
Yes.
And that's got bad written all over it.
All over it. Yeah. And this shows up in so many different ways. So for example, if you meet someone who's really out of shape and they say, oh, I've just been going through a hard time. I used to be really fit. I used to exercise all the time and I'm getting back into it. And you're like, okay, yeah, That seems reasonable. Well, 5 years later, they're still on the couch eating a bag of chips. They're not, you can't do that.
And you're gonna be mad because you're gonna think that they lied to you.
They lied to you.
But they didn't. They
Yep.
said they wanted to. They didn't say they were going to.
Yep. Even if they said they were going to, they probably intend to do that.
Yeah.
So wait till they've done it for a year and then date them. I mean, yep. I mean, whoo-wee. And I, as a therapist, do this in my head with my clients all the time. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're going to be in therapy for a minute and then you are going to be amazing. Like, all you need to do is change these small things and your life is going to get so much better. Girl, they don't do it. They don't do it.
Well, you wouldn't have a job if they all did it, Sarah.
No.
You need more.
This is true. Sometimes they do it, but I cannot let myself get disappointed. And I've done it with friends. Like a friend who specifically told me, I want to learn how to be a better friend. She was like, hey, how do you have all these friends that you've had for your whole life? I want to be a better friend. I'm like, oh, I got you. Let me show you.
I know it didn't work.
She didn't really want that. She did not really want to be a better friend. So, you know, you can't let yourself get too disappointed by those things because whoever they are when you meet them is probably who they are.
She just wanted to be your friend.
Well, for a minute.
Yeah.
And then she didn't really want to be my friend anymore. That's okay. It's all right.
It's disappointing, though.
It's so disappointing. And you would think by the time you've gotten to my age and you've been a therapist for a long time, you would recognize these things, but sometimes it still catches me off guard. So just giving you listeners a cautionary tale out there.
Well, I am gonna give a shout out about because we do say that we lop things off. We're known to be if we're done with it, and kind of lop it off. And
Yep.
I have been in the dating world pretty accused of moving things into the friend zone very quickly.
Mhm.
And I'm just going to say this because at first I felt bad about that. But now I do not. And here's what I'm going to say about it is that I am wise enough at this age to know whenever I am potentially hoping that somebody's going to be something other than what they are.
Yeah.
And I don't have it in me to spend 6 months here waiting for it, 6 months now on the next person waiting for it, another year over here in something where I'm waiting for it. So guys out there that are dating, that's the way I feel about it is I would rather kick back and, like you said, wait to see if somebody is going to reach their full potential, whatever that may be, or be honest with myself about what I can or cannot live with.
Yeah.
Than to hope for something because a portion of it feels good.
Mhm.
I'm going to just ride that portion that feels sort of good for as long as I can. What a time suck.
Yeah. It's true. If you know it's not right, you can't wait around for the potential. When I was in the dating bee, I dated someone who smoked cigarettes when I started dating her. And she wanted to quit. And a few months in, I started finding myself getting really annoyed that she was a smoker. I don't want to date a smoker. And I had to have a talk with myself because, that's who I picked. And she did quit for a time, but then she started smoking again and I got real mad. And I realized that wasn't right for me to do that. I picked her as someone who was a smoker. Anyway, I was having to have some chats with myself about all that, but it didn't last
That's why she won't speak to you anymore. She doesn't speak to me either. And I had no opinion about her smoking. So I don't know why she didn't like me.
She didn't like you for other reasons, I guess, but not because you tried to get her to quit smoking. Oh, Lord. Her name's Monique.
Yes, it is.
Well, let's talk about what makes someone's potential so attractive.
I mean, it's powerful.
Yeah. Yes, it is powerful. It lets us kind of imagine we make this pretend future with them. You know, like we fantasize about their transformation and we fantasize about this amazing future that we're going to have together. And the upside though is I will say I think that people who are thoughtful and people who are intuitive find it easier to see the best in others, and I don't wanna get rid of that. Like, I definitely like this trait about myself that I see the best in others, and I have to watch that I don't cross some line with it.
100%. And I like that too. I like it about you. I like it about me. I don't want to be jaded or to be suspicious all the time about people. And this is a little bit complicated because I was just talking about me friending somebody because there are certain things that I don't need people to change about themselves in order to be my friend
Mhm.
versus things that wouldn't work for me as a partner, an intimate partner.
Yeah. Can you give an example of something that would fall in that category?
Well, I think, and this can be kind of, well, I don't need the person that I'm friends with to be as good at conversation as I need the person, and meaning that they are good at a two-way conversation of being curious, asking questions. My friends, now I will say that the better that my friends are, I slot them as friends. Like I want to spend more time with my friends that are good at it.
Mhm.
But it isn't a deal breaker, but it is for me relationally. Because
Mhm.
I can't wake up every day with somebody that I can't really share interesting, even conversations.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely. And we talked a couple episodes ago about that back and forth. People who don't ever ask questions, and I think that's kinda what you're talking about. Yeah, you can have a friend that does that, and you see him occasionally, but you can't live with that every day. Someone who never asks a question.
no, I
Yep,
cannot.
yep, I feel ya. I think what happens is that when we fall in love with someone's potential, then that the possibility of how it could be starts to kind of replace the reality. And we don't ask ourselves like, "Oh, who is this person right now?" We start looking ahead to the future and thinking like, "Oh, who could they become?" And, there's a grain of something really good in that, and that's seeing their strengths. But the downside is that then they feel pressured to become something else, and you consistently feel disappointed that they're not someone else.
Mhm. And sort of what I was touching on earlier, at the point that that's happening, you're not in the relationship you have in the moment.
Mhm.
You're working on a relationship that you don't have.
Yeah, you're future tripping
Yeah,
to
exactly.
how it could be. Yep, and I think that there's some kind of subtle shift that happens from being in love with someone to turning that person into a project. And I mean, I see this in the therapy room a lot that someone will, they just want their partner to be better. Like I love you and I want you to be better. And man, that person doesn't want to be better. They want to be accepted for who they are right now.
Well, tell the audience because I'm thinking about this. Like, what are some of the things that are the difference between, hey, you leave your dirty laundry on the floor all the time, and I don't have to accept that necessarily, to the things that you really do have to accept. I mean, there
Yeah.
seems to me like a kind of fine line there to
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So if you, well, I'll give you an example. You really shouldn't use that metal spatula on the nonstick pan because it's not good for you. Okay, this is a grown adult and they know about the dangers of the nonstick pan. And sometimes they might just want to use that metal spatula, you know, something like that. giving someone advice about how to do something. Like, oh, if you just used a different tool for that, it's like you're trying to help them, and I'm going to put help in quotation marks, instead of just being like, yeah, they're going to get it done how they're going to get it done. It's okay. And so you find yourself like you're encouraging this person, you're giving them advice, you're trying to help them see their potential. But man, that really starts to shift the relationship dynamic over time.
That's where I think what people call nagging, I think it's what it starts to sound like, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if you screw up my fine metal pan, then that's coming out of your half of the, uh, allowance
absolutely.
when I get ready to get the next one, and not only that, I'm gonna get that one, and I'm gonna get another one that's even nicer.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll tell you.
And yeah, these kinds of things, or, and oh, the way I see this show up a lot is with health stuff. I just want you to be healthier. Like, why are you going to eat that? Why are you putting cream in your half and half in your coffee? That's not good for you. It's going to clog your arteries. It's got a lot of fat. It's going to make you gain weight. I'm just trying to help you. It's like
Boy, that one is really dicey, eh,
very dicey,
because
very dicey.
yeah, and I mean, God, I have had so many conversations with women, like, out there dating, the let's just say, the values that they put on the external, so I can't date a woman who's overweight, or the woman who won't eat a vegetable and doesn't eat right, and all of those things, and that one I will say, boy, you gotta be super careful for that, and if you all you daters out there, if you enter into something where you assume that you have a place in that conversation with this person, you need to just you are so wrong. Yeah.
Mm,
Now, what I will say about this, and this is what matters to me, is I am not assessing your weight or any of those things. I'm assessing whether or not you're the person that's taking good care of your health and your hygiene or your nutrition so that we can have the most vibrant life together that we can have.
mhm.
And if I look at that and think that those habits are so severe that there is no way that I'm going to feel comfortable that we have that opportunity, I'm going to need to not go there. I'm going to tell you right now that's not going to be a comfortable place for me to be.
Yeah. Yes, and that is the key right there. So it's saying, "Oh, this isn't gonna be a match for me." You can't get into something with someone and then say, you shouldn't eat those chips, or that you're drinking too much alcohol." It's like, no, that you picked that person, and it's really hard, but you gotta accept that this is who they are. I mean, you can express your concern to them, but you cannot turn them into a project, because then you stop relating to that person as equals. Like, you start feeling like their coach or their mentor or their motivator, and the other person starts feeling like they're being managed or pressured or misunderstood.
The side of this that I've experienced as well is someone putting their desires to change on me.
Mm,
So that they really want to get in shape, they really want to eat better, and they don't feel that they are disciplined enough to do it for themselves, and so they want to get involved in my health and food life,
ooh,
and no, not unless I invite you into that, but I mean, and again, I don't really actually want my partner to be working out with me all the time. I don't see it.
you don't like that? Well,
It'd be okay every now and then, but I'm
you
not
don't want her
signing up.
swimming in the lane next to you?
Well, it
That'd
depends
be
on
kind of sweet. That'd be
it
kind of
would
sweet.
like I said, I think it's nice if you can share some of those things occasionally, and it's nice to share passions, like, I love it when my person cooks with me. Love
Mhm.
that. Super nice to be in the kitchen together, and it's something that is important to me, to enjoy that.
I My dream is to have all my people come to CrossFit with me every single day. I want my kids to come. I want Joe to come. I want you to come. I want all my friends to come. That's my dream. So
Because you want to show us how much stronger you are than we are.
I mean, there is that, but no, I want to share the love. I want everyone to love the thing that I love.
I actually do love going because when I go, I really like it. It beats me down because I can't do half the stuff, but that's okay with me. I love it because everybody there's like, "Oh, hey, Rachel, I just love y'all's podcast. Oh, Sarah, is that your podcast person?" So
Uh,
I
they
feel
all know you.
I feel famous when I go.
You
Then I
are.
kinda I have some shame, though, when I pick up those tiny little weights.
Your beefy legs. Love it.
Eh, hey.
I love it. Well, why do you think this pattern happens that people fall into this dynamic of falling in love with someone's potential and, turning them into a project?
One is, like we said, you believe in them. You want the best for somebody, and you see their potential sometimes, more than they do.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we're attracted to people's potential because it feels hopeful and it feels exciting and, it's fun to see someone else growing.
Yeah, and sometimes people unconsciously choose partners who need to improve because it gives them a sense of purpose, and that's some people, if you're a caretaker, you gotta know.
You got to know. Yep. I see this a lot. And there is, some people get fulfillment by turning someone into a project. Some people get fulfillment by choosing someone who quote unquote needs to improve. But, the reality is that nobody's going to change just because somebody else believes in their potential. People change when they want to and not before.
I have an example of all of this and these individuals, and we would call them Monique and Veronica, and I don't know if you'll recognize them as I talk about them, but one of them is this gorgeous woman who is a caretaker, and the other one was messy. And boy, the messy one was so appealing to the caretaker. The caretaker, I think, spent 22 years of her life with that project.
Hmm. Now I'm
Until
trying to think of who it is.
if you can't guess, I'm not going to tell you.
Okay.
It's
Well,
Monique and Veronica. I'll tell you later.
uh-huh.
I'll tell you later. But to the point that you're making is that caretaker saw potential, and there was excellent potential, and this person actually had some amazing qualities, really and truly. But had the ones she had that were bad, never changed from being bad.
Mm.
And this wonderful caretaker put herself in that position because I think it felt good to try to take care of it. But all along, I think she expected that to change. And I tell you what, it never did. And it just got worse until that poor caretaker had to extricate herself from 22 years of that situation. And it beat her down.
Mm. I can
So
see that would happen.
it never, the cycle continued, and they both had, and that kind of is the dual role in this. You have the person who's the caretaker who really was, I think, attracted to the subject.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. The project.
The project,
And how did she finally get away from it? What was the deciding factor?
if I said what that was, then that
Everyone would know who it was,
maybe so.
including me, because I don't know who you're talking about. But, well, I guess, could you say something generic like she finally had enough of it or some big incident happened or something along those lines?
Very big incident happened.
A very big incident happened. I think I might know who you're talking about now. Was this somebody that maybe I had a crush on at one point?
Yes. Bingo.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good one. And yeah, that's unfortunate because that person did and does have a lot of potential. But
And let me just say that your crush was on the one that had potential.
I know. You don't have to tell everybody that. I already admitted to y'all that I fall in love with people's potential.
You were cheating
So
in your mind.
I was cheating in my mind, but it's okay. I was honest about it. I was honest about the mental cheating.
I want to say so much about that, but I'm not going to.
No, we better just move right along.
I
So
don't.
let's chat about the cost of falling in love with someone's potential. Like, what's the downside of that?
Well, you end up feeling disappointed, as
Yeah.
in my example, and that burned up a lot of time, and didn't go
Yeah.
where she hoped it would go.
Absolutely. And the important thing to note here is that both people end up feeling disappointed because the one person feels like they're never good enough, they're never getting it right. And the other person feeds into that dialogue. Like, yeah, you just need to change these few things and then you're going to be great. And, the person who has that vision gets frustrated that that change isn't happening fast enough.
Yeah, and then it's the other person. They do feel criticized. I don't think there's any. I don't know. Sometimes I think that dynamic really feeds off. They feed off of one another.
Yes.
Um, And so I think both people sort of are getting some very unhealthy need met, and that's a different dynamic.
Yeah. And then both people end up getting resentful. One person feels like they're carrying all the emotional work and the other one feels like they're never going to measure up. And so it's just not a good dynamic. On the flip side of that, let's talk about what healthy relationships look like with regard to these things.
Let's do. Well, it certainly doesn't mean that people can't grow. I mean, we're not trying to say that.
Yeah, of course. But at the foundation of a healthy relationship is that acceptance of who somebody actually is. Like we said at the beginning of the podcast, you have this person in front of you. Can you accept them as they are, or would you need them to change in order for them to be acceptable?
Yeah. And growth is something people choose for themselves. That's the big one, guys, is if they're not the ones really adopting the idea and owning it, there isn't anything you can do to, I mean, you can be supportive, but it has to be they need to initiate it and guide it.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought of an example of this that I have a client that is dating someone and she is really smart and really competent and she has a lower level job and he knows that she could get a better job and he's constantly
Mm.
networking her with his friends and telling her, just send your resume to John Smith over at XYZ company and he got a position for you. So he's constantly trying to help her, quote unquote, improve her work situation. Well, she ignores all of it. She never does it. And it frustrates him so much, but it's like clearly she's not interested in another job in a better position. And that if both of them are just getting frustrated, but it's because she's not choosing that for herself.
Well, and I have an example that came up too, sort of about similar in that I have a couple friend where he is not very happy in his work, and he comes home, complains about it a lot. And she does not care whether he stays in that work or he goes somewhere else. What she cares about is she wants him to shut the hell up, make a decision. So that is also can be in play, is that she doesn't have an opinion about whether or not he stays in that role or he retires. But his passive nature of staying in it and then complaining about it all the time. So to me, the conversation is more about the complaining
Yeah.
than
She
whether or
wants
not
him
you
to not
can't
be a
stay in it.
complainer.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that is very true. When relationships start from the place of like, can I genuinely appreciate the person who exists right now? Like if that's where you're starting, then that growth can become a shared experience. It's not a project of one of you working on the other. And so I think that's an important thing to keep in mind.
Yeah. Well, we've given the audience a lot to consider on this one, and we just can't say it enough that you just cannot date somebody or try to start up a relationship with somebody unless you are wanting to date the person you're seeing right in front of you.
Yeah. And that doesn't just apply to dating, that applies to friendships and other jobs, like all kinds of relationships. Can you accept it the way it is right now? All right. What takeaways do we want our listeners to get from today's episode?
Well, potential can be inspiring, but it can also distort reality. And that is tricky because you do want to, it's nice to see someone's potential.
Mhm.
You just can't get overly invested in it in the ways that we've discussed.
Yes. The second takeaway is that no one thrives in a relationship where they feel like a project. They want to feel like they're good enough just as they are.
And growth happens when someone chooses it, not when someone else pushes you to it.
Yeah. And the last takeaway is that the healthiest relationships start with acceptance of who someone is right now. If there's one thing we can impart to you is you have to be able to accept the person for who they are right now. If you have listened to this episode and you want to chat with your people about it, here is a question we have for you to bring up. Have you ever found yourself focusing on someone's potential instead of who they actually were in the relationship? If this episode sparked something for you, we would love to hear from you. We always really appreciate getting your feedback and your comments and your questions. You can reach us by email, info@dateableaf.com, or you can connect with us on Instagram @dateableaf. And if this conversation made you think of someone, it may be someone whose potential you fell in love with, please share the podcast with them and help us to grow the Dateable AF community. As always, we want to thank you for listening to the Dateable AF podcast, where we help you find your happy ending.
And remember, be bold, be kind, and for the love of self-respect, don't text your ex. Stay dateable.
AF.